So, first of all, let's define what a 51% attack is. So, 51% attack is essentially if more than 50% of the network's mining hash rate or computer power is taken over by a malicious attacker. Now, here's the thing, right? And I want to talk about the incentives of Bitcoin, right? So, when you look at Bitcoin, right, you have the nodes, you have the miners, you have the users, and they're all operating in sync. And they're not doing that out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing that pursuing their own incentives. So this is something that I want you guys to understand. Miners don't play by the rules because they feel like doing so. They play by the rules because it's more profitable to do so. So let's say, hypothetically, there was an attacker that had enough of the hash rate, right, to 51% attack Bitcoin. That is a lot of mining power, meaning it is more profitable for those miners to mine Bitcoin than it would be to attack Bitcoin. Okay, so that's the first thing. So second thing, let's break down the mining pool, shall we, right? Because I think a lot of people misunderstand this, right? So you have a lot of the mining pools that are broken down, and a lot of people think, right, when you look at this at first, you think, oh, wow, there's really not that many miners. No. Well, you choose a mining pool because you want steady income, right? Because at the end of the day, mining is like guessing, right? And if you have one miner, the probability that you're going to guess correctly is actually very low. So what do? You pool your resource together with other miners, so the probability is more stable, right? And the bigger the pool, the more stability that you get in your profitability. So when you look at this, it doesn't mean that Binance Pool or Ant Pool or F2 Pool or Poolin or Luxor have that much hash rate. What it just means is that individual miners are choosing to mine with them so they have steady income. Now, another thing. Just because let's say a malicious actor, the government, the state, right, 51% attack Bitcoin, that only means, right, that they can censor transactions until, another block is found by the hash rate that is following along or playing fair, I guess. And on top of that, it only means they could double spend the coins, right? They could only double spend the coins of which they already possess, right? That doesn't mean if Bitcoin gets 51% attacked, it doesn't mean, right, that they could just go and steal other people's coins, right? And another thing, they can only really do that double spend once or twice because there's a lot of people watching Bitcoin, right? So a lot of people are going to wake up. And then the last thing, right, is this goes back to the incentives of Bitcoin. I'm going to pull up the Clark Moody dashboard, right, kind of steal a little bit of Phil's thunder, is the annual mining revenue, which is $16.1 billion, right? That's a hell of an incentive, right? So a government would have to actively want to set money on fire, right? And also, another thing is how is the government going to take over that amount of hash rate without it being found out by other people, right? Because at the end of the day, they would have to actually seize those machines, run those machines themselves, make another chain, start playing unfair. A lot of people are going to notice before it happens. Now, here's the thing. Bitcoin could have been 51% attacked, I would say, in the beginning of Bitcoin's history, but in the beginning of Bitcoin's history, it really didn't make sense because of the price, right? Nowadays, Bitcoin's hash rate has reached such a size that, in my humble opinion, I think that theoretically it is possible, but it's economically unfeasible at this point. And the more NGU technology keeps doing its thing, and the more that mining revenue keeps increasing, the more incentivized the people that are mining Bitcoin are to protect Bitcoin. Because think about it. If a miner, let's say a malicious miner, wanted to attack Bitcoin, right, they would be hurting themselves. Because all of that Bitcoin, all of that money that they invested in Bitcoin mining infrastructure, they would literally be setting on fire. So it's not that a government could 51% attack Bitcoin and then automatically steal your coins. No, it would be a reputational attack. And it would happen one or two times before the network would wake up. And on top of that, you want to backtrap, a lot of people would notice, right, that this was happening beforehand. One of the things that worried me about China was that, China, before the mining ban, had such a big percentage of the hash rate. Theoretically, you could, right, have a totalitarian country that wanted to just stomp out Bitcoin, and they just started seizing miners, and they could just started, taking people's machines, and then they would, work to 51% attack Bitcoin. You could have said that. But in a country like the United States, a country like Canada, or more Western countries, now that the hash rate isn't centered in China, could I see them doing that? No. Could I see the government mining Bitcoin to hurt Bitcoin's reputation? I don't know. I think that Bitcoin's hash rate has reached such a size that I just don't see it feasible. I think it was possible many, many years ago. Governments had their opportunity, but they chose to ignore Bitcoin instead and want it to go away. And at that time, not that many people were using Bitcoin, and the price of Bitcoin wasn't that high, right? So the longer they wait, the harder it's going to be to do that attack. Is it theoretically possible? Everything's theoretically possible, but is it feasible? Is it economically feasible? I just don't think so. The incentives of Bitcoin are too great. The incentives of playing by the rules in Bitcoin are just way too profitable, right? It's expensive to cheat in Bitcoin. So I hope that answers your question. There's a lot to unpack, but I don't know, Phil, how did I do?
I was going to say, man, I think you killed it.